Okay, folks, so good afternoon. Good afternoon to our TikTok viewers as well. Today on the Wealth Creation Show, we are talking about how to build confidence. Now, you wouldn't think much about that and think to yourself, well, what's confidence got to do with wealth? Closely associated, close, strong correlation in terms of what they're doing, because it is entirely related to that. Now, it's funny enough, Richard, this morning, I was talking to one of my friends and I says, do you know the difference between poor people and richer people is, I don't know. I think poor people actually create problems for solutions.
That's not too far from the truth, I think. Drawn
It's
to
like
experience.
I provide a solution and somebody creates a problem, and it's like, that's probably why you're still poor, is because you have a problem for every solution.
Yeah, that's got an element of truth in it, I think. And I think confidence is such a fundamental part of, I think, a lot of things that we do. I think even like my day-to-day job, your personal life, I think if you're confident within yourself and what you're doing, then you reap a lot of rewards for doing that. And we're going to come
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. I mean, self-confidence is a feeling, you trust in your abilities, your qualities, and judgment as well. There's never a right answer. It's just the right answer at that point in time. There's never a wrong answer. Again, It's just the right answer at that point in time. Hindsight's a great thing when people think about it. Do you know what I saw Kiyosaki? Again, I saw a video of Kiyosaki going, it's going to be catastrophic, this crash. And my comment to that was, you were talking about this in the pandemic.
Yeah.
It's like you were talking about this 3 years ago. Now, at some point in time, you're going to be right, by the way. And it will be some sort of catastrophic crash, but I kind of see that being next year. I'm quite bullish about the outlook for the economy and the housing market itself. I see a lot of this as well. I saw another thing as well. Did you know that institutional investors are buying up about 15% of the housing stock?
No.
Housing stock's scarce, remember? And what does that tell you about where they see it going? So the key at this point in time, if you are in property investment or you're thinking about getting your first house, and we will talk about this in the next couple of weeks in successive shows about how interest rates affects that, and also is the property market still viable and should you buy now? But my response is absolutely you should buy now, because I tell you what, institutional investors are buying up all the housing stock. Therefore, it's going to be completely scarce and it's going to be used for rental properties because that's all they're buying it for. And I'm talking about institutional investors as in banks. I'm talking about Barclays. I'm talking about big investment houses buying blocks and blocks of properties for investment purposes because the government set it all up for these people to buy.
Yeah, anyway. And they obviously know that they're using this time as a time of opportunity, which is what we keep saying to everybody. Use this as a time for opportunity, not to shy away.
Absolutely.
And that's definitely the approach to have at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so self-confidence, this is what it's all about. Self-confidence is really important for someone. And it's important for everybody out there. It drives everything. It's your self-esteem. It will drive your relationships. It will drive your work lifestyle. It will drive your success as well. It will ultimately drive your wealth. Research actually suggests that the confidence is important to health and psychological well-being. So learn how to be more confident and reap the benefits of increasing your trust and belief in yourself. So this is based on my personal experiences over the years. I've been doing this for about 35, 40 years. I'm 55 now, probably at the age of 15. I've learned a lot of things that went wrong. I remember at the age of 15 how I went in for my first proposal about what could actually work. What about this? Could this work? And this guy from Fourth Ports Authority said, that'll never work. And it's like there's a biff in the chop straight away. That'll never work. It's like, what did you invite me in for me to pitch to you then if you says it'll never work? It's like I walked out there quite despondent, and then I thought, next. That's the reality. Some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? That's it. That's all you have to think about. That comes with self-confidence. So learning how to be more confident will definitely reap the benefits and trust and belief in yourself, as I said. So ultimately, Richard, for you, what is self-confidence?
Well, self-confidence it can refer to a general sense of trust and ability and control of your life, like I was saying earlier, like, whether it's your personal life, your work life and things, or it might be more to situation specific thing. For example, you might have high self-confidence in a certain area of expertise. Maybe like if I say like I'm confident in lettings and lettings legislation and things because I've done it for years and I'm up to date with that. So I feel confident in doing that, but maybe less confident in other areas where I've maybe not got as much knowledge and things. Do you know what I mean? So that is for me where I think self-confidence, that's kind of how it's defined to myself. I think knowledge is key and being confident in an area.
Think about this one. If you were a multi-millionaire at this point in time, would your confidence level be higher?
Yes.
Why would that be then?
Because I think that's the hard one. I think with money, you get a sense of power and confidence, I think, anyway. I think, or wealth and things behind you.
So if you could do that right now, then can you not convince yourself then and convince your mind you're actually in that position right now?
That would be mind over matter.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that's probably the most important thing is the fact that it is a mental state of mind. Now, people often think you're delusional. I remember used to going about, when I was younger and say, I'm going to be a millionaire when I'm older. And it's like people, yeah, Jim, okay, you're going to be a millionaire. Good. Oh, look, there's Jim. It's like, well, maybe that is the case now anyway. But you have to give it from somewhere. People are going to constantly steal your dreams, and it is going to lead to lower confidence and lower self-esteem. Just don't let other people steal your dreams. That's what it's down to. And they don't know where you're going. They don't know what journey you're going to take. They don't understand where you're going. That's the key out of this whole situation. And it is control of your life. It is, you know yourself, if somebody starts talking about lettings, it's exactly what you said. It's like, I know everything there is to know about lettings. So you've got a high degree of confidence. So when you apply that logic, you then think to yourself, okay, so how do you get a higher degree of confidence in other things? Then you learn more stuff.
Yeah.
You read more books. And that then elevates you to a higher level of confidence because that's what you're doing as a result. So it's no surprise that I've read hundreds and hundreds of books over the lifetime that I've actually been doing this because I want to learn from other people. Diary of a CEO is a fantastic one right now. You've got lots of people just pouring it all out there right now about how they were successful and what they did and how they achieved and the thought process involved in that. There's free information everywhere from all these successful people. Make sure though, free information implies that there's something they're trying to sell you. And great, Rory Sullivan from Ogilvy, who wrote the book Alchemy about marketing and how that is a absolute wealth of knowledge in terms of marketing, in terms of advertising, in terms of how to get things through. And I'm, hey, loved the podcast, and I thought I'm buying the book. And I'll tell you what, I'm glad I bought the book. Absolutely fantastic book, and I'm learning more and more every single day. And we've adapted that already into some of the things that we actually do. So that gives you a higher degree of self-confidence all the time by the education level you get. So with education, your confidence rises for that reason. So it's all about making sure you're educated. Open that book for the first time. Go on that run. Be the best at your work. Make that extra effort. And it compounds over a period of time to make you feel a whole lot better about yourself. I recently had somebody as well who actually, they're going to be better off actually staying on welfare, to be honest, and benefits. But they said, no, I'm going back to work. I says, but you've got COPD. You're on your way out. You're more or less terminal. And he went, I cannot sit in the house any longer. It is going to drive me stir crazy. He says, I'm no caring if it gives me less money than I got because it just, I'm completely almost depressed. Now, in a depressed state. To do is to be, and that's what we have to understand as human beings. And this
that situation, it'll let him still have a sense of purpose and things as well. I mean,
absolutely, It's defined. Self-confidence is defined as a feeling and a trust in one's abilities, qualities, and judgment overall. And having a healthy level of self-confidence can help you become more successful in your personal and professional life. I tell you what, it goes everywhere, into your job, into your relationships, into everything that you do every single day, just because you've got a good level of self-confidence and self-esteem. Yeah, you can be cocky and all the rest of it, and you can be Jack the lad. It's like, but if you can back that up, who cares what anybody else thinks about you? As long as you have a good self-esteem, it doesn't matter about anybody else. Research has found, for example, that people who are more confident tend to achieve more academically. They also achieve more in their jobs, their professional career, and in their life as well. Excuse me. Confidence can also play a role in the motivation to pursue your goals, with studies linked to higher levels of self-confidence in athletes, with increased motivation to practice the sports of choice. You know yourself that most people that are in competitive sports tend to be the people that are in better paid positions later on in life because of their attitude towards everything. But their confidence level is built because of their sporting prowess from previous, and the awards that they've won and the medals that they've won as a result of what they did.
A lot of people who participate in sport and things have a different level of confidence, a different mindset, and a different attitude towards things, and that pays them dividends throughout their life because they apply it as they go.
Your level of confidence also affects how you present yourself to others. Do you think if I wasn't very, very confident, I'd be sitting on here live streaming right now? And the same with you, Richard, we wouldn't be doing this. And incidentally, for the people on TikTok, if you get a chance, go over to Richard's profile and follow him, please. He's up to how many viewers are you up? How many followers are you up to, Richard?
I think I'm sitting about 462, so I need to get to 1,000.
So what is your TikTok? What is your TikTok handle?
Do you know I was going to change it, but it is just Richard Cook 1986.
Richard Cook 1986. Please go into 1986 and actually follow Richard. We need to get him to 1,000 followers so he can go live on TikTok with me as well. So you're only seeing me right now because basically Richard's not got the 1,000 followers. Get him up to 1,000 followers, please, and we'll get him on there, and the both of us will be live streaming at the same time, and you'll not need to listen to his voice just. And some random person in the background thinking, where's that boy? Where's he coming from?
Well, hopefully by this time next week we could do that.
So how do you be more confident? Fortunately, well, there's several ways to do that.
Yeah, there are several ways to increase your self-confidence, and whether you lack confidence in a specific area, like I said before, or you struggle and feel confident about anything, then we've put together this morning, Jim. There's nine different points, and we broke it down, and we're going to go through them today.
This is a big one for me. This has got to be the be all and
What's
the end.
The first one for you, then, Jim?
And I think most people will agree with me with this. How to be more confident. The first one is stop comparing yourself to other people.
Yeah, that's a really important one.
No good at all. You do not know their journey. You do not know anything else outside of what you see of them, because all you see is this wee soundbite on them. So you just see what's happening, how successful they are in their sphere of excellence, but you don't actually see their relationships at home, their relationships with their family, maybe their relationship with alcohol, maybe with gambling. You don't see any of these things. You just see the material stuff, the stuff that's up front, the cars, the bling, the money, everything like that. That's what you see. So stop comparing yourself to others. That is probably one of the most important ones. I mean, do you actually compare yourself to how people on Instagram that you follow? Do you actually make that comparison? Or maybe you compare your salary to what your actual friend earns. Social comparison theory explains that making comparisons it's completely natural to do it.
Yeah.
But it isn't likely to help boost your self-confidence. It may even have the opposite effect. I definitely think it does.
Yeah.
Actually, a 2018 study published by the Personality and Individual Differences found a direct link between envy and the way we feel about ourselves. A direct link between envy and the way we feel about ourselves. That's why some people are envious of you. Yeah. I remember somebody saying about my brother one day when I was younger, and they said to me about my brother, they said, "I despise you."
Never
clearly envious, but I knew that person at that time, and now I reflect back, I knew they had a low self-confidence, but they felt by putting someone else down, it would elevate them up, but they don't realise it actually makes it worse for them. Specifically, researchers noticed in this personality and individual differences survey that people compare themselves to others, experience envy, and the more envy they have, the worse they feel about themselves. Said in a nutshell, eh?
And envy could eat you up, and could cause quite a lot in your mind.
Envy eats you up from within, doesn't it? every single time. You know, I remember my good friend who's a minister. He actually stood from stage, and what was it he said? He said, you know, now it's in a different way. He says hate, for example, but I kind of think envy is kind of the same thing, as drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yeah, that's a good
And
analogy.
it's kind of like envy. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. You cannot afford to be envious about other people. If you're that type of person, it will eat you up from within. So how do you build self-confidence how do you build self-confidence when you notice that you're drawing comparisons? How do you do this? How do you get out of this mindset? First, remind yourself that doing this isn't helpful. You have to be honest with yourself. Everyone is running their own race, and life isn't a competition. If you're feeling envious of someone else's life, it's also helpful to remember your own strengths and successes. Keep a gratitude journal. This is very important. Things like, your gratitude journals.
Yeah.
You could write down exactly what you're thankful for, and each take mental notes as well. Something you could look back on. And recall in other areas of your life when you're blessed. This is what I talked about, the bigger picture. You just see the superficial thing on the screen, but you actually don't realize what's round about this and what's happening in their life. You know, it was quite interesting one day. I saw this envious in an analogy. It was the guy driving down with a Lamborghini. He's driving down the high street or the boardwalk or wherever it is in America. And he's got the Lamborghini, he's got the blonde woman next to him, absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. And he's like all the bling and everything like that. And his Lamborghini pulls up to the traffic lights. And the boy turns around on the sidewalk and goes, "Wow, I would love to have what you had." And he turns around straight away and says, "Well, that woman sitting next to me is a prostitute and I have an alcohol and drug problem."
Yeah. So on the surface, it all looked good, but...
So you don't really want what I have. But you see what I mean? How people say that, but they've immediately talked in their mind and actually said to themselves, "I would love to have what you have." But and they're talking about the overall picture, but they have no idea what that person's gone through.
Also, what you said there, Jim, I think is quite important. Is people tend to look at everybody else and like you say, look at what they have rather than appreciate what they actually have of their own. And a lot of people we've got quite a lot to be thankful for, especially when you look at what's going on in the world just now. People take for granted what they actually have. And do you know what's really important? I think you said there is to write things down. See, the power of writing something down and reading it back to yourself is actually quite amazing. So that's something.
I'm extremely pictorial. So I have things in my mind and analogies. The one I always reflect back to, and the best film ever, is "It's a Wonderful Life" by Jimmy Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I remember that, and I watch that film, and it reminds me every single time why I should be so grateful, and the fact that without me, someone else's life might have been not that bit better. Yeah. And then I begin to think about the amount of people's lives I've actually touched for the better and actually improved as a result of me being here. And for me, that's how I keep my gratitude journal. So I don't have huge expectations. I just remind myself of what the impact I've had on other people's lives for the betterment, and then where it's brought me as well. So that's how I tend to see my gratitude. I don't need to state it on social media. I don't need to tell anyone else about it. I just keep it to myself, and I remind myself of that. And that's what keeps me motivated throughout the day and to keep doing what I'm doing every single time. So the comparing yourself to others is definitely a no-no for that very reason. The gratitude journal will definitely help you. This can help you focus on your own life and focusing versus the focus on the lives of others. So you don't want to focus on other people's lives. That's probably one of our top tips. What's probably the next one for you, Richard? Which is quite difficult quite a difficult challenge.
Well, as you say about obviously stop being so fixated on others, but surround yourself with positive people is the next one. And that is so important because the influence that they could have on you is a profound amount. And take a moment and think about your friends and how they make you feel. Do they lift you up? Do they bring you down? Are they constantly judging you, or do they accept you for exactly who you are? And just take a step back and look at the people you surround yourself with. The people that you spend time with can influence your thoughts and your attitudes about yourself. And perhaps the more that you realise then the more you pay attention to how others make you feel. And I think you really need to look at that. And if you feel bad about yourself after hanging around with certain people, then the simple answer is don't. Say goodbye to these people, because they will have a negative effect on how you see yourself, and ultimately how you are going to perceive yourself throughout the rest of your life.
I read this in a particular book, and I can't remember which one it was. It might be How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, or it could have been Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, or it could have been How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie as well. But I read it years and years ago, and I actually went round most people and I basically says to them, I'm just going to have to stop going about with you. You're negative. You just drain my energy every single time. You're like a negative vampire. You're like a negative vampire. You just drain the life right out of me every single time. But you've got to understand, I'll be honest, there's certain members of my family are like that as well. It's like as soon as I'm in the same environment of them, they just suck the life right out of me, talking about all the bad in the world and all the things that are going wrong, and they complain about everything and they find a problem for every solution. And I'm thinking when I come out of there, it's almost like, oh my God, I'm going to need to get a transfusion. I'm going to need to get an energy transfusion from somewhere, and it's no Red Bull or anything like that. It's going to do it for you. It's going to have to be that positive mental attitude. It's going to be that gratitude journal. It's going to top you up again. It's going to keep you on point. The whole point of motivation is a motive for action. So motivation is a motive for action. Motivate, motive for action. Now, motivation can be internal and external. External motivation is functions you go to. It's concerts you go to with your favourite band, and you feel really great for the next couple of days, and then it disappears. Then internal motivation is created by things like your journal, your gratitude journal, the memories about what you've done, what you've achieved, where you've come from, how you've done, how you've struggled, how you've done that. You don't need to tell anybody else about it, as I said. You just need to remember it for yourself. So what I did when I was younger as well was, the people that I was so successfully involved with, all the people that are really super wealthy at that time, genuinely people that were actually retired at 25 years old. And I'm like, you can't retire at 25 years old. It's 65 you retire. And he went, no. Retirement's got nothing to do with age. It's everything to do with money.
Yeah.
Think about that. If you had all the money in the world, would you be doing what you're doing? I would.
You were going to say that.
Yeah, I would. Because I love what I do. Get up every morning. I've got a pulse. As long as I've got a pulse, that's it. Well, hey, it's going to be a good day. No matter what it is, even though it's raining outside, hey, liquid sunshine. Anyway, so it's the people you spend more time with will influence your whole circle. And this is why Einstein talked about it's the people you associate and the books you read, which will determine where you are in the next 5 years. I could tell a person where they're going to be in the next 5 years by these two simple things. So surround yourself with these people. It's people you love. You want the best for you. That's fine. And you surround yourself with these people, but also the people you love as well. You don't need to surround yourself with them. You just need to visit them now and again and just be aware that they're going to suck the life out of you. So just make sure you're prepared for that. Change the conversation. This is what I used to do. When somebody talked about something negative, I used to just diverge the conversation into something else. Something else was maybe positive. Or Tony Robbins talks about scratching that record. When people are actually thinking about that, disrupt them, scratch that record and get that out of their head and then get onto something else completely different. So that's what I would say is surrounding yourself with truly positive people. All about now. It's no the happy clappy gang, but that's no
people that have got a more positive outlook on things.
Definitely, I did have somebody, and I was reminiscing this morning with my friend, and I said to him, I remember when actually somebody interviewed me. They got to the end of the interview and gave me some constructive feedback, and they said to me, "Do you know, you interviewed quite well, but I would tone it down a bit. You're a bit too excited.
You're too positive."
It's more or less like that. That's more or less what he said to me. You're kind of a bit too positive. You're a bit too optimistic. And I went, okay, next. It's like that was it. I'm just like, next. It's like I'm not bothered. You stay where you are if you want, but I'll move on. So one for me is a really good one, which I do right now. I train every other day, is take care of your body.
Yeah.
This is a tip for how you become more confident. It's based on the idea that it's hard to feel good about yourself if you're abusing your body. If you're drinking alcohol all the time, I'll be honest, when I drank alcohol, the next day was horrific.
Mhm.
It was getting to the point where it was like next day, it was like an onset depression. For
Yeah.
for a certain period of time, and that's what it does to you after I
To
looked
get rid
into
of the toxins in
you
your
know,
body. Yeah.
it maybe is okay on the night and it makes you feel good, but there's a tipping point in your brain where it becomes destructive towards you. So the alcohol for me had to go. It got in the way of my triathlon, it got in the way of my training, got in the way of my running, my cycling, and everything like that. So I thought, I've had enough. I've drunk enough. I've got the t-shirt, I've done the video, I've done the film and all the rest of it. I don't need to do any more. That's me done. And for some people, that's fine. They want to do that. For some people, they find it a struggle. But then you'll have your own journey to take. But you definitely need to take care of your body. When you practice self-care, you know that you're doing something right in positive mind and body and spirit, and you'll naturally feel more confident as a result of what you're doing. Here's a few self-care practices linked to high levels of self-confidence. Now, for me personally, this is what I did. Your healthy eating. I would never call it a diet, because a diet is die, literally, it.
Yeah.
So it's a healthy eating plan. So healthy eating comes with many benefits, and that's what I've done all my life. After I realised how important it was to do that. So I juice every single day and drink a pint of cold pressed juice. Now and again, I take a day off. Like when we were down in London, I took a day off as well. But I still made sure I ate something really healthy. And I made sure my body was, after all, if you're going to put the right fuel in your car, imagine if you didn't put the right fuel in your car. How far do you think you're going to get? Imagine if you put diesel in a petrol car.
You're not going to get far.
Yeah, exactly. If you put diesel in a petrol car, you're not going anywhere. And that's effectively what we're doing sometimes to our bodies. And that's what I was doing to my body as well. So I needed to find the right energy, the right food, the right fuel for my body. So my body would work perfectly and how I'd want it. And it would be on point all the time. After all, you only get one shot at this and you're not coming back.
Yeah, I know.
And I'll say that again. You only get one shot at this and you're not coming back. It is not a dress rehearsal. Think about that for a moment. If you're 55 like me, 65 is the retirement age, and often more people round about you are actually dropping dead. So if you had 5 years left, would you be doing what you're doing right now? But we'll all ignore it because we'll all think, oh, just put it to the back of my mind. It's something that we can't influence. But just think about it. I mean, personally, I'm going to live till 100 odd. I have to live to 110 or something like that because I want to be the fastest man to run 100 meters. And the other guy's like 106 that did it. I didn't know how fast it was, but I want to live to that age to make sure I'm going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. That's my goal. Hence the reason why I've got a healthy eating plan. So it's fuel for your body, it's nutrient, it's dense foods. You feel healthier, stronger, more energized, which can result in feeling better about yourself. Do you know healthy eating is linked to intelligence? And yet we starve our children sometimes of the right nutrients and the right input, which actually affects their learning ability. It's been linked to learning in children. And if you don't have the right food and the right eating plan for the children, therefore you're going to reap the not rewards. You're going to reap the downside of this. So we need to make sure we feed our children properly. This can result in feeling better about yourself and them feeling better about themselves. Exercise as well. So I've been out for a 4 miler this morning. Every other day I train. Wednesday will be a mile in the pool. So they'll be doing that as well, just over a mile. But that's what I do as a natural thing for what I'm doing. Now, I told you about this, Richard. That fell by the wayside in lockdown, like most people did. But I had to get back into a habit. So I decided to do something every other day. Now I'm at the point potentially where I get in, I'll fit in something in between the other days because maybe Ben wants to go out running or Tony wanted to go out running on Saturday morning. So that's the sort of thing. So I went out on Friday, Tony went out on Saturday morning, I went out on Saturday morning. So it reset me for Monday morning and then I'm back to Wednesday. So I'm always 2 days from the point I did my last training. And if I do want to fit in something the next day, then fine. Even if it's a walk. You do that, Richard, don't you?
Yeah, well, and do you know, ever since I got the dog, it's like I didn't have a choice. I have to go.
No choice. Yeah, absolutely. Dog goes, wait a minute, we're going out, but no. And you're like, you kind of go to the dog and rationalise to your dog. It's like, well, we're not going out because I feel a wee bit tired tonight. And the dog's going, wait a minute, we're going out, but no.
I have a choice, and
That's all the dog keeps saying. Wait a minute, we're going out, but no. It's
Yeah,
like,
he knows what
but
time it is.
you
So.
don't understand. Imagine if you were trying to teach, imagine if this was all about imagine if your whole life had been trying to rationalize to a dog about why you're no self-confident. Wait a minute, and the dog's just going, well, why are you no self-confident? It's pretty obvious. We're just talking about it right now. So if you do all these things, definitely you'll be self-confident. But we still rationalize. We rationalize with ourselves and rationalize with our life. So what is rationalize? It's telling yourself rational lies.
Yeah. I'll tell you,
Every time you rationalize everything, you're just telling yourself a rational lie. That's all you're doing.
Daily walks are so good as well, like for your obviously health benefits, but the mental side of things as well. I use that time to either clear my mind or think things over, or do you know what I mean? It's got its dual benefits.
Absolutely.
For me.
Did you realise that a 2016 study actually found that regular physical activity improved participants' body image as well? And when their body image is improved, they felt more confident about what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean about body image. There's so many people that are just saying, oh, well, that's how they are and that's how I am. And it's like, okay, you're going to live with coronary heart disease, you're going to live with liver failure, you're going to live with this and you're going to live with that. But I tell you what, you're comfortable how you are. We'll just leave it at that. It's like, I don't want you to die. That's why I would tell you the truth. So be honest with yourself. If you're struggling, get help. There's nothing wrong with that. Meditation. More than just relaxation practice. Meditation can help you boost self-confidence in several ways. Well, for once, it helps you recognize and accept yourself. Meditation also teaches you to stop that negative self-talk and disconnect from unhelpful mental chatter interfering with your confidence. Did you know, actually, people actually change their things? But we're so engaged with everything, like phones and television and computers and laptops and at work, we don't actually realize you're never actually switching off at any point in time. Mm-hmm. Your brain isn't switching off. So it isn't any surprise when you get to your bed, and then what happens is your sleep is affected as well. So skimping on sleep can take the toll on your emotions. Conversely, good quality sleep has been linked to positive personality traits, including optimism and self-esteem. I must get a lot of sleep then.
I'll tell you, lack of sleep. I think, and as you grow older as well, it becomes more apparent how much lack of sleep can have an effect on you.
Genuinely, when I go out to a night out and I'm not drinking, and I'll stay out till 1 o'clock or even 12 o'clock. Even if I'm out to 12 o'clock, by the time you get in the door, the time you get to your bed, it's 1 o'clock. If I get up in the morning, I feel like I've got a hangover. Honestly. Because the lack of sleep, I notice it straight away because I always get quite good sleep anyway. So when I do stay a lot longer, it actually affects me personally. I could actually feel the weight. I don't know if anybody else feels this, but I can actually physically feel a weight in my mind actually pulling me down the next day. For that reason. So I would, and it's probably because every single day your gut actually produces serotonin. So serotonin is the drug that makes you feel happier within yourself. And if you're not producing enough serotonin, that actually leads to depression. So it's lack of sleep and alcohol and depression and all the rest of it. It compounds to make sure your gut doesn't produce serotonin. Therefore, guess what? No happy drug. And that serotonin has to last you all day. And it's the stresses and strains of the day actually depletes that serotonin. And that's why you're given neural inhibitors called citalopram, diazepam, all these different things. That's why you're given neural inhibitors to actually slow down the depletion of serotonin every single day. They don't actually produce it; they just slow it down, the depletion of it. And that's why you feel very lethargic and very tired. It's a common symptom of actually taking an antidepressant because it's actually slowing everything down to slow down the depletion. But it's all about protecting you at that point in time because that's the most important thing to you. Where a lot of people actually think, oh, it's going to change me, it's going to mood inhibitor me, and I'm going to go high as a kite. And it's like, no, it's there to protect you. So listen to your doctor if that's the case. But there is a point in time where you can actually gradually come off it. It's not just a switch off thing. But again, that's a gradual process. How do I know that? I've been through it. And folk are going, what? It's like you? Absolutely. It's like years and years ago. I understand it completely. I read all the right books. I read up on everything. So I understand everything completely. So I know about what I'm talking about when I say that. So caring for yourself is important to self-confidence.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're getting what you need to feel good about yourself and your abilities. Next one.
Be kind to yourself.
That's a bit of a challenge for me. I'm a very hard taskmaster on myself. You know that yourself, Richard. I'm a bit of a perfectionist. And I have to remind myself every day, it's like, no. The point is to get it done, not to be perfect.
Yeah, it's a really important one. People can be quite hard on themselves, and self-compassion involves treating yourself with kindness. When you make mistakes and things, people could be. I mean, I've been there, done that. You could be really hard on yourself if you fail or experience a setback, and it allows you to become more emotionally flexible, and it helps you better navigate challenging emotions, enhancing your connection with yourself and others. So be kind to yourself. We've looked at a few studies this morning. There was a study in 2015, a study of connects self-compassion with self-confidence. So the next time you're in a challenging situation, recognize that being imperfect or falling short at times is part of just you're human. It's part of being human. So do your best to navigate these experiences with compassion towards yourself.
There's so many times we pressurize ourselves into certain situations, and it is driven by things like the social media stuff and that.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just you don't need to switch off social media, to be honest. See, when people say I'm taking a break from social media, I'm like, there's something wrong there if you're taking a break from social media.
Yeah.
You've been going at hell for leather. The idea of this is actually to keep, this is your line of energy right there. So here's your line here. I'm drawing it. Okay. Now you want to make sure every single day you're just under that line when you're swinging for the fence, I call it, batting out in the park. So you're somebody's throwing balls, you're swinging every single time. And every now and again, you'll just go bang and your energy will spike and you'll do something significant and then go back down under that energy level again. So don't work at the extreme up here all the time, because if you work at the extreme up there all the time, you're going to burn yourself out. Yeah, people say that. I did that for about 30 years, non-stop, just up there, going hell for leather every single time. I had a dream, I had a vision, I knew where I was going, I wanted to get there as quick as possible, and that's why I did that. But I realise now that sometimes you need to bring yourself most of the time just below that energy level, and then bring it when you need it, and then back down as well. And all the things that you need to do. Let's take a couple of comments. Andrea, confidence requires you to know the others you trust and what they're saying and doing. Absolutely, Andrea. It's a two-way street. But remember, not to have confidence in yourself, remember. Confidence in yourself is not about trusting someone else. It's about trusting you to understand that you're confident about yourself. The relationships is a different thing. And that's what will give you confidence as well. And that's the relationships you have. But confidence comes within self-confidence. That's why it's called self-confidence, because it's you, it drives that. Only you can influence that. And that then leads to your thought process on how that actually happens. Sandra actually says, thank you very much for Sandra. Thank you very much for sharing. Thanks for that, Sandra. I really appreciate that. We love good feedback, to be honest. We love feedback entirely. If you've got a chance, then hit that like button, follow or share or whatever you do. Tag someone and you might actually think that they might need this, just so they can actually plug into this as well and get information on this. So it's all about being kind to yourself. And you're absolutely right, Richard. Sometimes over the years, I've just gone and, burnt it. People talk about burning the candles at both ends as the analogy. And I often say to them, well, I didn't burn the candle at both ends. I actually burnt it at both ends and in the middle. I literally burnt the candle out completely. I'm the testament to that. So I've learned a lot of lessons by that and understanding that. Hence the reason why I've got my London Marathon t-shirt on. My midlife crisis. I'm going to run the London Marathon. It's like, no, I did that. I did this for chest, heart and stroke because a friend got up at 55 years old with a stroke, and the next day they switched the machine off and that was him gone. So that's why I ran the London Marathon for chest, heart and stroke. And then I did a standard triathlon. And I also ran the Edinburgh Marathon as well. After I did it. It wasn't a good idea on an injury, but I had to do it because I promised I would do it. Anyway, the next one for me is definitely practice positive self-talk. I talk about this all the time. Negative self-talk will always limit your abilities and lessen your self-confidence by convincing your subconscious that you can't handle it up here. The wee id, the wee monkey in your mind. You know, we're genetically hardwired to be negative about things and think about all the worst case scenarios that could actually happen. So you've got to make sure you stop that chatter. That wee voice in your head that thinks you go, I've got a great idea. And then about 3 hours later, the wee voice comes up and goes, hey, what makes you think that's a great idea? What about this? What about that?
Mm-hmm.
What makes you think you're so special? How many people were told that by their parents and their peers when they were younger?
Yeah.
Me. What does
and
that
that's
do?
the things like that stay with you.
What does that do to us child self-confidence? That's what we need to stop doing. Stop telling our children what makes you think you're so special. That's not for the likes of us. Speak for yourself. Because it's definitely for the likes of me. And that's what you should be telling yourself. So your subconscious, you don't tell your subconscious that you can't handle it. Don't tell them that your subconscious is too hard, and you shouldn't even try. Self-talk that is optimistic, on the other hand, can foster self-compassion and help you overcome self-doubt and take on new challenges. The next time you begin to think you have no business in speaking up at a meeting, or that you're too out of shape to work out, remind yourself of what your thoughts aren't always accurate. They're only there to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a fear. It's a fight or fight mechanism. It's inbuilt into us and hardwired us back to the prehistoric ages. If you're going to encounter something that might be stressful, your mind immediately goes, wait a minute, you might hurt yourself.
Yeah.
And then you go, but how am I going to hurt myself? I'm only walking across this bridge. How would I hurt myself? But it's doing that deliberately to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes you've just got to switch that off and think, to hell with you. What do you know? Because it'll always remind you, that wee chatter in the back of your head. So watch that self-talk, that wee voice in the back of your head that tells you you're not just that good, or that's no for the likes of us. Then find a way to turn those thoughts into more positive self-talk. Here's a classic example of what I used to say every single time when I first started out all these years ago. I used to get up in the morning, look at myself in the mirror and say, every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. Every day and every way, I'm getting better and better. And I used to do that 10 times on 3 rotations, 3 reps. See what I'm doing here? I'm exercising my mind. People don't realize that's what you're meant to be doing. We'll exercise our bodies. We'll go, we'll lift weights and we'll go running and we'll do everything else. But nobody actually exercises their mind. And that is the 6 inches between your ears. It's going to influence you forever. It's going to either make or break you, this bit here. The rest will all work normally. I mean, you breathe because you breathe. It's subconscious. It's an unconscious thought you breathe. It's an unconscious thought you do this and lift your arm. You know, you don't try, you just do it. So how does that happen? And you can actually program your mind to actually positive self-talk all the time and talk good things about yourself. And actually that wee voice and tell that wee voice in your head to shut up. So it's and increasing your self-confidence. You can do it in other ways as well. So let's talk about this. You can also say, I can't handle this, or it's impossible, becomes I can do this. And all I have to do is try. Here's another one. I can't do anything right. I've heard that before a lot of times, even with people I'm actually dealing with in employment. Why do you not just say to yourself, I can do better next time? Or at least I've learned something that I can do better next time.
Yeah.
Here's another one. I hate public speaking. Well, guess what you're going to do? You're going to hate public speaking. Change that into become, I don't like public speaking, or everyone has strengths and weaknesses. Don't say you hate it, just say you don't like it. Because hating implies that you detest it, and you'll every time you want to try and do it, guess what? Your mind says, but you hate this.
Yeah.
It's a computer. It just does what you tell it to do. Garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, it's like you say about the thing in the mirror thing, Jim's like the positive, like affirmations that I used to associate quite a lot with, like Americans and things practice this quite a lot, like the positive affirmations and saying that. But it works, and you see, I've watched documentaries of really famous, successful people, and the self motivation that they have to do themselves daily in order to succeed at what they're doing. And that's how you do it. And it's all about up here.
One of the biggest ones next, face your fears.
Yeah.
Stop putting things off until you feel more self-confident, like asking someone out for a date or applying for a promotion. One of the best ways to build confidence in these situations is just to face your fears and do it anyway. Dr. Susan Jeffers has a brilliant book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Do it anyway. And that book,
we read this as one of our books in our book.
I learned a lot out that book, and I've still got it with all my notes stuck in it, and it's in my. And
I've read it loads of times, and I still have my book highlighted. See, when you're reading a book as well, or you're reading your Amazon, your wee tablet,
Kindle.
Your Kindle. See, when you're reading your Kindle and your book, start marking things and start earmarking pages. You know what I do with books? I actually just take the page and I think, if that's a really good one, this top corner in the book gets folded down, right? And here to tell me where I'm going to start next, the next day. But if I really like a page and I want to go back to it at some point in time, I fold down the bottom corner at the bottom here. I fold this bottom corner in. So I know it was something I read. It was pretty profound. And I think when I need a wee bit of boost or I need something, it's like I'll go back to that book and I'll just open it up and I'll go, there you go, there's that. There's that bit that's going to get me going. There's that bit that's going to motivate me. You become self-motivated rather than actually relying on somebody else to motivate you. Basically, relying on somebody else to motivate you is them going, and you're like, yes, I feel motivated. And then over the next 2 days, it just all the wind, all the motivation just dies out of you. And it's like the person comes in again and goes, it's like, just learn to do it yourself. Just learn to keep topping yourself up every single day, because it will deplete all the time. We are constantly bombarded with negative news. The constant negative news channel, CNN, the British bullshit corporation, BBC. It's like all these channels are like that. They're just constantly wanting to bombard you with their negative news, because that's what sells their things. So face your fears and do it anyway. Stop putting it off. Get on with it. Practice facing some of your fears that stem from the lack of self-confidence. See if you're going to have a dip in the pool. Just jump in the pool. To hell with it. Didn't dip your toe in. Just go for it. Because you're going in anyway, so you may as well go in with style. Make everybody else look bad. It's like you come straight out of the sauna. This is what I do. Straight out of the sauna and into the ice cold bath right in front of everybody. And they're going, holy shit. How did he do that? And I'm like, oh my God, this is Baltic. But it's like, you don't show it. But see how that's done. See how that is. And it's like, but you get a huge rush out of that. And it's just that adrenaline. There's loads of drugs in your body that you can actually use to replace all the drugs that we stimulate ourselves with, which is alcohol and cigarettes and vapes and all the rest of it. And caffeine. This is all the things that we are stimulating ourselves with, but you're actually, it's all built into your system already. All you need to do is learn how to turn it on. Every single time. If you learn how to turn that on every single time, you just need to have a certain move. Tony Robbins talks about it, make your move, and you've linked it to that move. And I mean that, linked it to that move, and it turns that on. That adrenaline rush or that drug in your body, that boost of serotonin, that boost of dopamine, it gives you that. And you could turn that on every single time. I'll give you a classic of how that's done. What is your favourite record or music that you love to listen to? And how does that make you feel? That's exactly what I'm talking about. You've got your tracks of music that you know, I'm going to get a big boost out of this. That's your natural drugs, your dopamine that you're getting. And you can switch that on anytime you want by what you're doing. So find your records, find your tunes, put it on your phone. And when you just need that wee boost beforehand, maybe you're going into a meeting, maybe you're going to talk to somebody beforehand and you just feel like, I'm just not feeling it. Just switch it on and give it big. You know, like dance like no one's watching. That's what it is. Who cares? You know, they're sitting looking at you when you're dancing like no one's watching. They're going, I wish I could do that. I wish I had the confidence to do that. That's what they're saying every single time. You don't realize that. So you might learn that being a little anxious or making a few mistakes isn't bad as you thought. Each time you move forward, you gain confidence in yourself. This builds confidence. It builds self-esteem. And then the end of this can prevent you from taking risks that will result in major negative consequences. Next one. Richard, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, do things you're good at. And what happens when you do things that you're good at? Your self-confidence starts to soar. Your strengths become even stronger, which helps you improve your belief in yourself. Taking this approach also has another benefit, and it can increase how satisfied you are with your life in general. So there are studies that have found that believing in your ability to build on your personal strengths is moderately related to your life satisfaction levels.
Absolutely.
So this starts with identifying what those strengths are, and then work to make them stronger by engaging in them regularly. And things like we spoke about, like obviously sport and fitness and things, Jim, if you're good at a certain sport, for instance, make a point and train or play at that sport maybe once a week, or you're saying you're doing every other day just now, Jim. And if you're good at a particular task at work, or then try and do that task more often, and this will build on your strengths and can help you build ultimately your self-confidence.
I do this every single time. So a lot of people say, you know, what's your time in triathlon? How long are you on the bike? How long are you in the swimming? I'm like, breaking. Like, oh, but do you not keep a track of that? I went, I'm not bothered. I just enjoy doing it. I get a boost to it. I enjoy doing it. I'm not doing it for competing against anybody else. But they want to compare themselves to me and actually recognize, you know, like, oh, I beat you. And it's like, I'm not caring if you beat me or no. I just enjoy what I do.
Yeah.
And it's the same when I'm in the pool as well. You see people rocketing back and forward in the pool, you know, fleeing back and forward. And it's like, look at me, all my tattoos on and all the rest of it. And it's like, hello, I'm Dave. Meet Dave. He swims like a fish. Remember that? Remember that advert at the beach? Learn to swim, young man. Learn to swim. But that's the sort of thing, isn't it? You know, that sort of thing where the butch boy and he kicks the sand in your face on the beach. It's like, I'm not into that at all. I couldn't care less what anybody else does. I enjoy what I do. It boosts me and it gives me confidence. I do it for me. And when I look at my watch thinking, okay, how am I doing for time? Okay, I'm within 10-minute miles. And 10-minute miles to me is fine. It's comfortable. I've got no desire to get back down to 7-minute miles like I had before. It's like, that's just no my radar, because I know the amount of work I need to do to get to that. And I'm not prepared to actually kill myself in doing it, because it leads to long-term injury. And I know that because I've done it already. I've had injury as a result. So I'm not going to do that, because I want to be that person that will run the 100 meters at 100 years old. If I don't get there and I die before then, I'm so what? It's like, but the last thing I want to do is lie in my deathbed.
At least you've got that goal.
The last thing I want to do, Richard, everything I think to myself, the last thing I want to do, I look at everything I'm going to do, and I think to myself, when I'm lying on my deathbed, I'm actually going to think to myself, I wish I'd done that. I wish I'd done it. And it's like, if the answer is yes, then I'm blooming doing it, because I do not want any regrets for that. So do things you're good at. Find something you're really good at, something that makes you feel satisfied, a certain sport. If it's archery, then take up archery. If it's things like, if you like playing with your train set, then play with your damn train set. You know, do that sort of thing. Do that thing that makes you feel good about yourself and makes you feel overall healthy and actually makes you feel good in your own mind. That's probably the key there. The next one for me is know when to say no. Most important thing ever.
I struggle with this one.
Richard, tell me no.
Yeah, I mean,
tell me no. Just tell me no.
No.
It's
difficult. It's a difficult one.
No, it didn't.
I've had to work on.
I've had 5,000 people standing up and saying no all at once to me in a crowd, actually getting it. Look, get up and say no all at once. And it's like 5,000 people stood up, went no. And it's like, are you still here? Absolutely. Are you really that bothered? No. It's not going to, Tony Robbins, actually. It's not going to kill you. It's equally important to recognize the situation. It can actually cause your confidence to dip for that reason and plummet. Maybe you'll find that every time you participate in a certain activity, you feel worse about yourself instead of better, because you're not saying no, because you know you should be regenerating. You know you should be below that threshold where your energy is getting expended. And then you're up here all the time because you can't say no, and therefore you can't get back down here. Next minute, you're on the hamster wheel and you realize that you can't get off, and you think there's no light at the end of the tunnel, and the plummet happens.
The plummet happened, and it happens up here first. Yeah. And then you wonder why you're so lethargic and you don't want to get up in the morning. Do you know how I know that? Because I've been through it. Because you don't say no. So saying no to activities tend to zap your self-confidence is okay. So saying no, well, it will zap your self-confidence will be okay to do. Certainly, you don't want to avoid doing anything that makes you feel uncomfortable, because discomfort is often a part of personal growth process. At the same time, there's nothing wrong with knowing your boundaries. This is what I'm talking about, and sticking to them. So setting social and emotional boundaries enable you to feel safer psychologically. It also helps you and feel confidence, and boundaries will help you establish a feeling of control. It'll also make you feel a lot more empowered and in control of yourself. Next time someone suggests you doing something that you don't want to do and it will lower your self-confidence, just respectfully decline. Don't feel bad about it. You don't have to avoid the activity forever either. Once you learn how to be more confident, you may feel stronger enough to actually try it out. Last one for us, Richard, realistic goals.
Yeah, set realistic goals. I think pursuing your goals often involves failing along the way. Failure is part of success, and failing several times until you figure out how it works. And this can make you wonder if you have what it takes to succeed. Now, it can also leave you with questioning how to be more confident while still achieving your dreams. And the answer lies in setting realistic goals. Setting high, reaching goals and failing to achieve them has been found to really damage people's confidence levels. And conversely, realistic goals are achievable. So, if you're more achievable goals, the greater your confidence is in yourself and your abilities to do that and reach those goals if they're more realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, to set realistic goals, write down what you want to achieve. Ask yourself what chance you have of attaining these, and be honest with yourself as well. That's really important. And if the answer is slim to none, the goal may be a wee bit too lofty for you, and dial it back down to a more realistic and more achievable goal.
Yeah.
Now, this may require doing a bit of research on your part. For instance, if you have a goal to lose weight, which is a popular one, experts recommend losing 1 to 2 pounds per week for healthy long-term weight loss. Knowing this helps you set goals in line with your guidelines and boosting your self-confidence when you hit your target. And I think that's it. And weight loss is probably the most common one, I think, between people, or fitness levels. And some people, including myself, and I've done it, set unrealistic goals. You don't achieve them, then you put yourself down. And I think that's the importance of setting realistic goals.
Definitely, I would say so as well. So all my life, I mean, the typical example is I'm going to be a millionaire. It's like, so how are you going to be a millionaire? You have to then break that down. If you're going to be a millionaire, I mean, anybody could, to be honest, in the next 40 years, you could have 1.8 million if you just saved £100 a month and actually just put in a compounding wealth appreciation fund. That's all you need to do. Compounding every single month, £100 a month, and you'll probably have about 1.8 million in the next 40 years. You'll probably have about 800,000, believe it or not, possibly in the next 10 years or 20 years. So that's easy enough to do, but people actually don't have belief in themselves that can actually happen.
Yeah.
And so it's actually setting and it's because they don't set realistic goals in that process. So you need to set realistic goals in order to make that happen, in order to understand that process. So the type of things I did when I was younger, I learned how to do it because I was reading the right books. I was reading books that were actually teaching me. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits for Successful or Wealthy People. That was a really good book. It actually told you the habits of actually setting goals and how to do that and how to set that all out. Tony Robbins had fantastic books as well. Notes from a Friend was actually a really good one. If you go to Tony Robbins' website, you sometimes get that for nothing. You'll get notes from a friend sent to you. I remember actually we got it sent to everybody. Said, we could send it to everybody. Or I'll give you everybody's email address then. And it's like, we're getting a free book. It's like, there's Richard, there's and then everybody got it. So these are all the different things. Now, we're just going to, just bear with me now, because we're going to overrun this, because this is for Instagram as well. So we're coming up to the hour. Everybody on Instagram, hopefully you've actually helped with that as well. And we'll see you next week for the next Wealth Creation Show, because we're running over. We can only get an hour on Instagram. We're not live streaming on Instagram. We're live streaming on TikTok and everywhere else. Bye-bye to all our Instagram viewers. And if you need more information, go on the Facebook pages, the YouTube page as well, and you'll see more information on that. So let's then recap and talk about the realistic goals out of this. So that's it, 59.50. Okay, so we take a wee mental note of that, so I know where to cut that off for Instagram when I post it on. Right, okay, so setting realistic goals. This is how it happened when I set realistic goals in the beginning. I went and broke it all down. It's like, what do you want to achieve? Do you want to be a millionaire? Okay, I can teach you how to be a millionaire. Classic example of that was in property, for example, when I first started, I says, okay, you got 100,000 in the bank, or have you got people with 100,000 in the bank? Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. So at that time, you were allowed to put 90% loan to value. So you were only needing 10% deposit down. There was no ADS, no additional dwelling supplement. So I was saying to people, that, you know, so what you do is you've got 100,000 between you then buy 10 properties with 10,000 a deposit on each one at 100,000. Mm-hmm. Okay. You then wait 10 to 15 or 20 years, and then they'll have appreciated by £1 million, and ultimately you'll be a millionaire in that time. And everybody laughed. It's like, and do you know why they laughed? Because they thought that was so simple.
How could it be that simple?
It wouldn't work because everybody would be doing it. But what they didn't realise that everybody wasn't doing it because they thought it was so simple. Somebody has to start somewhere. I mean, you know, when Jeff Bezos came along and says, "Oh, I'm going to sell books from my garage," it's like, you've got Waterstones, you've got all these other places. You're selling books for your garage. You're having a lot. And Jeff Bezos at that time actually spoke to some of his pals about investing in his business and said, "I am going to be a billionaire. I am going to have 100 billion." Now, he's not got that yet, but I'm going to have 100 billion, he said. And they all laughed at him. I watched it the other day. He was talking about it. He says, my friends laughed at me. I said, they're going to have 100 billion. It was actually not him speaking. It was somebody else speaking on his behalf about the fact that they had told him that. I'm going to have 100 billion. This thing is going to be huge. And nobody believed him. But you have to start somewhere. So it is the realistic goals. It's understanding that mentality behind that. And it is actually writing them down. Writing them down is really important. Now, this is an urban myth, I think, but I truly believe it. This is the theory behind it. So 1 year in Harvard, all the graduates were asked to write down. All the graduates were asked to say to tell them, you know, to set their goals. So they were asked. All the graduates were asked to set their goals, and then they were asked to set their goals about where they want to be in the next 5 years. Now, what Harvard does is once these graduates left, they actually revisited all these graduates again in 5 years' time and said to them, okay, so did you actually reach your goal? Now, the majority of them actually said they didn't reach their goal. And it was effectively about 95% of them didn't reach their goal. But 5% of them actually did reach the goal that they wanted to achieve. Now, it wasn't because they had lower goals or lower projections than anyone else. They all had lofty ambitions about what they wanted to achieve. But the one thing that stood out for them is the people actually in the 5% group actually wrote down their goals, and the people in the 95% group didn't write down their goals at all. They didn't have any focus to them. It's a classic example. I'll ask you to read a book, but I'll not let you read. I'll not let you read it. I'll not let you see the pages. Can you guess what it's going to be about by reading the cover? But that's effectively what you're doing with your goals when you don't write them down. Yeah. It's like you've maybe thought about them, but then effectively that's just like looking the book at the cover, the cover of the book, and then looking at the title, and then guessing what the story is going to be after that. You've got to, the key stark reality of the setting goals and set realistic goals was they wrote it down. When I first started out, I'll be honest, I extrapolated a model on a spreadsheet, which I wrote down to say that I could have 100,000 properties in the next 40 years if I stuck to that goal. Now, I'll be honest, I had no idea I was ever going to achieve that goal. And I'll be honest, I never achieved that goal. So for anybody that's watching, I've got 100,000 properties. But I had no concept about what 100,000 properties meant. But I did it on a spreadsheet and I thought, yeah, that absolutely works logically. But what I failed to realise that the people get in the way. The economy gets in the way. Nothing's ever the same. So that's what
factors you don't have complete control over.
That's like these gurus that come on the screen and go, if you have 100,000 and you have this and you got 15% return and you got this amount of money and then you got this and you got that, and you're going to be wealthy and you're going to be financially free. And it's like, aye, but that's a model on a board and that's no reality about what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
You're a bullshitter. That's it. And people buy
that's
into
a theory.
that.
That's a theory based on an ideal world.
I need to buy that boy's course because he knows what he's talking about. And it's like, and how many properties do you have, by the way? I've not really started, but I know the theory. Yeah. It's like, wow. And that's effectively what happens. And we get sucked in because for some reason, we think there's a fast track to life and someone else has got that answer. This is the one about the car, you know, the successful person in the car, and he's got the woman sitting next to him. And that's just exactly what I spoke about at the beginning. That's what that is. That person sitting in the car. And we look at that person and go, you've got what I want. And you're offering me a fast track. And it's like, oh, I'm going to buy into that. What have I got to lose? Well, you've got £5,000 to lose probably, and your time as well. And then you'll rack it up on a credit card more than likely because that's what they do. Yeah. And then they get you to pay at 29% APR for the rest of your days. And then you're going, this guy ripped me off. And by that time, you're too late because they've built so much attraction. Everybody else, I'm getting on a different vein there.
Sorry, CJ, digress slightly, but
that is true. That's exactly what happens, isn't it?
Yeah.
But setting realistic goals is the most important thing you can do because it does focus on you on something. It is like probably another example of that. It's they start. You know, you could do this yourself. This is quite an easy one to do. This is what I was told by my mentors. Stand at one end of a field. Make sure there's a bull's not in the field, by the way, because then you'll have a problem. You'll maybe get there quicker, actually. Stand at one corner of the field, okay? Look at the other corner of the field, right? This is how your goals work. So watch the other corner of the field. Try crossing that field while looking in front of your feet after that, after looking at the corner. And don't look back to the corner until you get there. So what you do is stand at one corner, look at the other corner, then focus on the ground at your feet, and then start walking forward. And just stay looking at your feet and see what path you take to get to the other end of the field. Okay? That's what is right, not writing down your goals.
Right.
What writing down your goals is, you stand at one corner of the field, you focus on the other corner of the field, and you keep your focus on that corner, and you walk towards that corner. Now, did you know that both people have done the same thing, but one looked at the corner and one didn't? And the person that looked at the corner and kept the focus on that all the time at the other side of the field got there quicker and straighter than the person that actually walked looking at their feet all the time. That's because they wrote down their goals, the one that looked at the corner. That's what you're doing effectively. And when you write
it down and keep your focus on your goal,
it gives you more focus on your goal. And it also, then your mind in the background then starts to work out, how do I actually work out how to get to that goal? Mm-hmm. What do I need to do? When you're focusing on that goal all the time and you can see that, what's happening is your mind saying, move a bit that way, move a bit this way, move a bit that way, keep straight that way, move that way. Whereas if you're looking at your feet, that's the equivalent of not writing your goals down. Your feet are going, I have no idea where I'm going, but I just know I'm putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah. And the thing is, if the other corner of the field's your goal and you're focusing on that, your feet will do what they're meant to do anyway, as long as you're focusing on where you're going.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
So write down what you need to achieve. Next, and it's no easy. You take time to do this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you're not spending more time writing down your goals than you are planning your next holiday, there's a real issue there. You're not going to be successful at what you want to achieve. Whatever that is for you. It might be to have a happy family. But then you have to quantify what is a happy family to you. Mm-hmm. You might be have to have children, but then you have to quantify how. Yeah, well, we know how you go about having children. But if you don't have children, then you've written it down, and you think to yourself, okay, I can adopt or I can have in vitro fertilization. Yeah. You know, you could. You know what I mean? See how that starts to work. Then when people start to write that down, oh no, I can't have that. Oh, I've got some.
Start to develop a plan.
Yeah, your mind starts to then work towards that and think to yourself. So when you wake up in the morning or you're out running, for example, because I do this all the time. When I go out running, it's like, wow, valuable thinking time. I have now got next year's advert for our campaign because I immediately thought about how, and I saw something on the television last night with another producer and what they did, and I thought, wow, that's gonna work perfectly for me as well. And I'm not going to steal the thunder of this because I'm not going to tell anybody what it is for the campaign I'm doing. But I tell you what, it's it's going to hit a lot of resonations about the people that are my age. Put it that way, it's going to hit my age group because it is in the same style to something that we watched in my age group in terms of how it was filmed and all the rest of it. So I think it's going to resonate perfectly with that market, and that's my market, to be honest. So that's what I'm going to do for next year. But see how that works. Because I wrote it down somewhere. I send myself emails and I write things down. So when instead of writing it down in a book, what I do is I'm out somewhere at the time and I'm maybe doing something. I send myself an email with it written down.
I do that sometimes, yeah.
Because it reminds me. See how I'm writing it down now.
And I'm sending myself a text message.
Absolutely. So it's
and
moving
it forward. Leave it unread.
To the next stage. Or sending yourself a text message or a private message as well.
Yeah.
Private message yourself. What's that all about?
Yeah, I do that.
I'm reminding myself that's what I want to do. I even put it in my diary sometimes, the thinking time. So it's setting realistic goals, but more realistic so you know you can actually achieve them, just so you can achieve one at a time. We talk about this all the time every week, don't we?
Yeah.
It's like when you look at the lofty goals, I mean, 3 years ago, you were looking at your goals and thinking, I'm not hitting them.
Yeah.
And now it's like, wow, I'm getting pretty close to them. But you don't feel upset now that you're not hitting them. Because you understand the goal is there to pull you towards it. And it's often like you're aiming for the stars, but you're hitting the moon on the way down.
Yeah.
It's like the guy that ran across the field. The bull's in the field, and the farmer says, you're never going to get to across to the other side in time for that bull. I'll give you £1,000 if you can actually make it without the bull hitting you. So the boy runs across the field and he's running, and the bull goes and starts to, I'm coming for you, pal. And it's like, and he's go, oh my God, and the bull's coming for me. And he's running like buggery to get across the field. And he's thought, I'm never going to make this. I'm never going to make this. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then out the blue, he sees a tree in there, and he sees a tree. And he looks for the tree and he goes, I can make it to the tree, but I can't make it to there. But he says, what if I miss the tree when I try to jump for the tree? So he's running over the tree and he's saying, well, I'm never going to make it over there. I have to make it to the tree. So he's going, and the bull's going, yeah, I'm coming to get you, you bam pot. And it's like he's still going hell for leather over at the tree. And then he makes one, he says, oh, maybe I'm not going to make it. Maybe I'll not make it. Maybe I'll not be able to jump high enough. Maybe I'll not get that. And he makes one gigantic leap to try and get the tree. And he misses it. But he hits it on the way down.
Yeah.
And that's what we don't realise. The object of the exercise of having goals is to reach for the stars, but you'll hit the moon on the way down. Reaching for the moon's only going to get to the moon, isn't it? Yeah. You're not going to get any further. So reach for the stars. This is what I talk about, swinging for the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to strike out a lot of times, but if you swing for the fence every single time, you've got a better chance of actually hitting a home run.
Yeah.
If you don't swing for it at all, and that's your goals that you're not setting, you're not going to hit anything. And then you're just going to feel worse about yourself. So whatever it is you want to achieve, set realistic goals. But not the realistic goals as in, I could do a 5K because I did it yesterday, so I'll set a goal of doing a 6K. That's not a realistic goal because you're going to do a 6K easily. That's a no-brainer. Set yourself a 10K. Work towards that. Set yourself bite sizes. Look at the marathon. I had somebody the other day come on and says, oh my God, I've been accepted for the ballot. It's like, I've got the London Marathon next year. And I'm like, okay, right, let's break this down. You've never run 26 miles before. You've never really run before. Did you realise there is a plan on the London Marathon's website to actually couch to 26 miles in 17 weeks? Couch to 26 miles in 17 weeks of training. Wow, that is unbelievable. So I followed that. Now, I did this way before. So I ended up doing actually 26 miles in December. So I was about 3 months ahead. So I kind of peaked But then I injured myself, and then that put me off track for a while. But I tell you what, if I'd done it at the last minute and injured myself, I wouldn't be in the London Marathon. So it gave me enough time to see. So see how I set myself that goal, and I got that goal before the Christmas period. And then, because I knew the Christmas period was going to be icy and all the rest of it, and there was no way I was going to be able to run about in the ice. That's just too risky for me. But I did injure myself in another way, which actually put me out of action. But even when I was out of action for 2 months, I was still of the same fitness level to be able to actually go into the London Marathon and actually run it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I set a realistic goals, and I hit that goal, but I made sure I prolonged it. And then I went to ultra from there as well, which is 33 miles. Now, I'm not really particularly bothered because I've hit that. I'm quite happy and comfortable where I am right now. So set yourself realistic goals. I think we've done that to death, that subject. And that's where we are right now. So let's talk about the difference between self-confidence and insecurity, because a lot of people don't realise self-confidence and insecurity are kind of, one is, there's a strong correlation between the both of them.
Yeah.
But it's learning how to be more confident. It can be helpful to understand how someone with self-confidence is different from someone who is more insecure. There's a difference here.
They're like the flip side of each other.
Yeah. Here are some differences. Okay, let's take an example. Okay, self-confidence versus insecurity. Some differences. Confident people celebrate other people's successes. Look at the athletes. Why is it that an athlete in the Olympic Games turns round to a person in second place or even in first place and they all celebrate together? Why are they not competing against each other? What are they doing that allows them to become so successful and have a real self-confidence and self-esteem? What is it? Because they're not competing against each other. They're competing against themselves to be the best they can be. That's why they celebrate all together, because they've got nothing. They don't have that. And we are taught at school not to do that. We're taught at school to see the other person as an enemy, not as a person that we can collaborate with. Yeah, that's how we look at things. Look at a football game. How do you think some teams are successful and some teams aren't? You find that the ones that aren't are the ones that have the shining, the singular lone wolves. The one, look at me, I'm going to keep the ball all to myself. But they end up losing the game. But they look good. Oh, you played a good game. Yeah, that's great. My self-esteem is brilliant. But they don't realise what they're doing overall and how that will lead to their confidence in the long run. So that's why I said they celebrate other people's successes. Confident people are very open-minded about things. They're very optimistic. You can see that.
Yeah.
It's like, I personally think anything's achievable if you put your mind to it. That's a judgment fly Back to the Future.
I would agree.
That's Marty McFly to his father in Back to the Future. Dad, everything's possible if you put your mind to it. But you've got to understand, these are all the wee things that you pick up over time. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with actually embracing that thing, statements like that, if it does help your confidence. Yeah. They're willing to take risks. They're decisive. They're like, it doesn't matter if it's right or wrong. At this point in time, it's the right decision. It might be wrong in hindsight, but at this point in time, it's the right decision for me. They're always learning and growing. You can see that. Yeah. Always reading books, always watching podcasts, always listening to podcasts, always taking information, always meeting other people to see if I can learn from them as well. They admit mistakes when it's made. I'm quite open. I never make mistakes, by the way. Of course I do. I do make mistakes, and I do admit to myself, it's like, yeah, I could have done that better. But I don't. I've started not to beat myself up on it. Don't give yourself a hard time. The reality is, there's other people out there that don't do anything like you do at all. So you're kind of ahead of the game in terms of what you want to do, and they accept responsibility for their actions. Here's what insecure people do. Opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah.
Judge and are jealous of other people. They're closed-minded. They don't open to any options or opportunities, or they don't think about, they don't take anybody else's thoughts on board. They're very closed-minded. That leads to pessimism. That's the one that finds a problem for every solution.
Yeah.
It's because they're insecure. They just want to put other people down and belittle other people because it builds them up in their mind. But they don't realise that other people actually just leave them and generally insecure people are on their own. And then they bleat to everybody on social media why they're on their own and how difficult it is for them, but they don't realise they've actually put everybody off them by their actions.
Yeah.
They're afraid of change. They don't embrace it at all. Look at what happened. Look at what happened there and now with the rent freeze and the moratoriums on evictions.
Yeah.
What was the first thing I did? Opportunity on the horizon. By the way, I'm buying. It's like, that was the first thing I said. By the way, if anybody's selling, I'm buying. Because the reality is, I had worked this all out beforehand and I knew exactly where I was. And I've seen this all before with the governments years past and how they react. Even with this carry on about the Bank of England saying, we're going to be in the longest recession ever. It's going to last 2 years. And I'm like, God, just 2 years. That's all right, actually. When you were saying a long recession, I thought you were going to come out with 5 years. It's like, you're saying 2 years. It's like, well, the average recession is only 1 1/4. So we've got another 3/4 a year to add on to that. That's no big deal over the last 2 years. As long as you can plan an action to weather the storm for 2 years, your quid's in. What happens if it only lasts a year? You're even better quid's in.
Yeah.
What happens if it doesn't happen at all? You're way ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
And your financial security and your wealth planning. That's the key there. To take it on board, digest it, but don't be pessimistic and don't be afraid of change. The only thing consistent in life is change. There's an oxymoron for you.
Yeah.
The only thing consistent in life is change. Change will always happen, cause and effect. As soon as you improve one thing, it'll cause another problem somewhere else. You see that in computers, where somebody goes and changes a program, and the next minute it's like, I can't get into this. It's like, oh God, I've changed that. And it's like, Facebook's doing this all the time. They're changing all their stuff. And it's like, oh my God, I can't get into Creator now. I can't upload this. I can't do that. I can't put an advert campaign on this. It's changing all my differences. It's like, you're just going to have to suck it up, pal. It's like, you can't do anything about Facebook at all. You're just going to have to do a workaround. And that's what I do every single time. I just do workarounds. Right, okay, let's do a workaround then. Oh, I can do it this way or that way. It's like the first thing I do is I create the solution for the problem, rather than actually the problem for the solution.
Yeah.
The hide flaws. Classic. You know, are you hiding a flaw at work? You know, that's insecure people actually do that.
Yeah.
Whereas confident people actually come up and say, I've made a mistake.
I need to find
How
out.
do I rectify it? What do I need to do? And their boss goes, pat on the back, maybe give them a bit of grief in the beginning, but they pat them on the back and go, thank God you mentioned that because we can solve it now. The worst case scenario is you get found out and then you get drummed out the door. That's insecurity. It does that to you. That's no, I'm not talking to you, Richard, what I'm saying. That's you're doing, that person out there that's listening in.
Yeah.
That's you're doing what causes that problem. If you hide flaws within your work or hide flaws in general, then that's you that's doing that. That's you that's causing that problem, no one else. Because when somebody actually challenges it, some people turn it around and say, oh, but that's you that did this. And it's like, well, it's not really. It's actually you. Just own up. It's your insecurity that's causing this problem.
Yeah.
They're indecisive. They float from place to place. They're not really sure about what. I've actually finished. And it's like completely lack of confidence and insecure. You can tell that straight away.
Mm-hmm.
They act like, here's another one. They act like they know it all. The know-it-all knows everything.
Yeah.
But they know nothing.
Yeah.
I've come across many of these people, and you find them out straight away when you're sitting. Well, we've had it recently at some seminars. It's like, oh, I know this, and I know that, and I know this, and do this, and do this, and do that, and do that. All right, okay. How are you doing that? Are you using this or are you using that to do this? And it's like, oh well, I'm kind of just, I'm doing this, and I'm just turning to you going, they have not got a clue what they're talking about. It's like, because they've obviously heard it from a podcast or something, or they're just copying someone else they've learned on a course. But so you get found out quite easily with that. When you act like a know-it-all, you don't need to act like a know-it-all. People act like a know-it-all are generally hiding the fact that they don't know all.
They don't. Yeah.
You know that straight away when people are like that. They start to make excuses. Everything's an excuse for anything. Now, I've got a list of excuses, 1 to 100. And generally, when somebody gives me an excuse, what do I say? Oh, that must be number 76 then. It's like, what do you mean? Well, I've got my list of excuses from a number 1 to 100, and that just so happens to be number 76.
Yeah.
By any chance, did you borrow your neighbour's lawnmower? And they went, what? What's that got to do with anything? And I say, well, any excuse will do. So they do make excuses. Insecure people make excuses for everything. And then here's the final one for me. They start to blame other people.
Yeah.
It's their fault. It's your
Rather
fault.
than taking ownership.
Yeah. You see that loads of times in relationships that break down, don't you?
Yeah.
You go around to a person's house, and opposite ends of the spectrum, they're sitting there, and you're getting a story from one and a story from the other, and it's like, oh my God, it's like, do you see it's your problem? and often I sit there and take counsel and actually, kind of work people through these issues, and eventually they begin to realize, some of them, actually, it's probably me. Now, for me personally, I knew everything that happened to me in the past was my doing. It was either my failure to act on it, or my failure to do anything about it, or actually doing the wrong thing. And the wrong thing was the right thing at the time, but it was generally down to me, all the decisions that happened in the past. And I began to take ownership of that and realize that and own that. That's the only thing that will set you free. If you're listening to this right now and this is you, the only thing that's going to set you free is stop blaming other people for where you are right now. It's the government's fault. It's my boss's fault. No.
Thing as well, if you, sorry Jim, interrupt, if you're going to realise that maybe you're the problem for certain things, address that, take ownership. Once you do that and accept that, that is going to just do wonders for your own mindset and your confidence and do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To get to that point is a real turnaround, and it will be for a lot of people. It'll be hard for a lot of people to do that.
Listen, it's hard for everybody. It was hard for me as well. It's the old thing about, and I was always told by my peers as well, the mentors that actually mentored me, you are where you are with the decisions you've taken or the decisions you've failed to take, and someone else is taking them for you because of your indecision. See how that is there? Indecisive. See that? Insecure people. Blaming others, making excuses. Afraid of the change. Judge and jealous. They're jealous of other people. I've went through all these phases over the years. I was like that at school. I had no idea where I was going at school. I was just a total reprobate. The whole thing. It was like I'm blaming everybody for all the failures at school. Now, I was just a young laddie. I wouldn't know any better, but I knew there was something bigger out there, and I knew there was something I really wanted. I just didn't know how to get it, and I had no one to show me that path. No one was there to show me that path. I didn't ask anybody, by the way, but there was still nobody out there. I was cynical about everything because it was an insecurity within me when I was younger. It was driven by the people around about you. It told you that's no for the likes of you. What makes you think you're so special? You were an accident. How many kids have been told that?
Oh, God, that's terrible. I hope not a lot, but then the reality is probably is.
I've heard it said, and it's they mean it. They don't mean it instant. They don't mean it nastily. They just say it like like a joke. Like you weren't a plan. You weren't a plan. You were, and people genuinely say, I've watched parents do that to their children. You were an accident. It's like, how do you think they're going to feel about that? My own grandfather used to do this to me. You were born lazy. He used to tell me that every single time. Every single time I didn't do what he wanted me to do. You were born lazy, born idle. That's all he ever said to me. How do you think that's going to affect a young boy in 10, 12, 13 years old, having your peer that you're supposed to be looking up to telling you that every single time when you're there with them, because they didn't do what you didn't do what they wanted you to do.
They wanted,
and that's what destroys people's self-confidence and leads them to insecurity. So self-confidence, you don't have it, it generally leads to insecurity. What are the benefits? Let's talk about this and just finalize here. Being confident in yourself just feels good. It's an amazing feeling, just looking at yourself in the mirror and actually saying, yeah, you've got it. You ever done that? No. I do that.
Yeah, but then that and it goes hand in hand with the like we're talking about the affirmations and the self confidence talk. That is something that you should practice if you're wanting to be.
You should
confident
look at
and
yourself in the
successful.
mirror all the time and go, yeah, you're the best. And be sincere to yourself about
Yeah.
it. Look at yourself and say, see you. You're the best. Goddamn best person I've ever known. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better.
Yeah.
That's what you tell yourself every day. You look at yourself in the mirror. And I tell you what, it's funny when you answer yourself back. It's like, whoa. It's like, what? What happened there? But it's true. It gives you a real good self-confidence.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not the Pollyanna effect. I mean, folk who are older will know the Pollyanna effect, where you just go about saying, oh, it's all roses and, you know, sparkly and happy clappy. It's like, we're not talking about that. We're talking about just building your self-esteem, making yourself feel confident within yourself. And it leads to better and better things because people see that. People then see you glow and radiate. And they want to gravitate towards you. They don't want to run away from you. If you walk into the room, does the light come on or does the light go out? And that's the metaphoric light.
Yeah.
Do people avoid you or do they gravitate towards you? You'll soon know.
Yeah.
If you've got that energy around about you, because people do know that. I used to get told that all the time. When people used to say, you've got this real strong aura around about you. And I was like, I'm not a witch or anything. It's like, but generally, you know, I had people like that. It were like these people, and it's like they've got this real strong aura about you. And it's like, okay, I don't see it, but hey ho. So you can devote your energy rather than waste the time and energy worrying that you aren't good enough. Why do you not devote that energy to your efforts and the fact of saying that you are good enough? Ultimately, you'll perform better when you have more self-confidence overall. You'll have healthy relationships. Having self-confidence not only imparts on how you feel about yourself, but it helps you better understand and love others. Unless you love yourself, you will not be able to love others. I'll say that
You
again.
need to start with yourself.
Unless you have a healthy relationship and love yourself, you will not be able to love others. It's also true. So having self-confidence not only imparts on how you feel about yourself, as I said, but it also helps you to help others. It also gives you the strength to walk away from a relationship if you're not getting what you want or deserve. People are stuck in these relationships, and it's only till it comes to crisis point it all goes pear-shaped. And yet they're thinking, I wish I had done this 5 years ago. Well, if that's the case, do it now then, if that's the case.
Yeah, because you don't want
Or
the
maybe
cost
you
of
should just
repair.
go to couples counselling. Maybe you should go to couples counselling. There's you know, I think there's Support Scotland, which actually do free counselling for relationships counselling.
Mhm.
So Relationship Scotland, I'm sure it's something like that. So they have relationship for couples who are going through just challenging times and they just want to work it out. Now, the object of the exercise, even if you're splitting up, is to go to these organisations and it finds an amicable way for you to split up. But then sometimes it's possible that you actually might see a point of actually wanting to get back together, the both parties, once you work things through. But could you imagine the relationships in the past you've let just go because you failed to actually think to yourself, maybe this would be a route I should try?
Yeah.
So it's not to get you back together, it's just to get you an amicable solution to your issues right now. Openness to try new things. This is just what I've talked about right now.
Yeah.
When you believe in yourself, you're more willing to try new things. Whether you apply for a promotion or sign up to a cooking class, put yourself out there is a lot easier when you have confidence in yourself and your abilities overall. It also leads you to resilience. Believing in yourself can enhance your resilience or your ability to bounce back from any challenges or adversities you actually face. Sometimes you'll go to your bed and you think, God, oh, it's just not going to work out. And then you get up in the morning and think, I've got the answer. Well, hey, it's like, it's a brilliant day. It's like just like that, because you feel really good about yourself and you've regenerated yourself. And now this optimism all flows back into you once you've had that sleep that we talked about before.
Yeah.
So let's kind of finish off here. What's your recap for this then?
Yeah, I think, like you say, Jim, it's self-confidence is such a great thing if you could have it in the right place and achieve it by setting realistic goals,
Mhm.
doing, like you say, even down to things like getting the proper amount of sleep, surrounding yourself with the right people. I mean, we've covered so much things today, and people might think, well, that's a lot of stuff for me to start changing, and then do you know what I mean? Do start change small things at a time, and in order to reach that place. And once you build your self-confidence, you'll notice a big difference on how you operate and you'll notice how your life changes.
Absolutely. More resilient to stress as well. Eh?
Yeah.
So for me, everyone struggles with this confidence issue from one time or another. Fortunately, there's several ways to boost it. And it's learning out of that confidently. We've just spoke that out. It's sometimes the low self-esteem, the signs of mental health condition, such as depression and anxiety. If your self-confidence interferes with your work and social life or education, then consider talking to a mental health professional. There's things like, for guys, there's Andy's Man Club. There's also the Women's Wellbeing Club as well, running alongside Andy's Man Club. That's all set up as well. There's other organisations that can help out. Speak to your doctor as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Oh, but they'll not see me because they're on the phone all the time. So what? If they give you a phone call, then chat to them on the phone. See what it's all about. Maybe you might have to go in for a couple of tests, make sure your bloods are okay. It could be something silly, like, a urine infection or something like that. It's affecting your mood. It could be simple things, but you can eliminate them.
Things like iron and vitamin levels and things.
I know, it's amazing how different that is. Eh? So a therapist can also help you better understand the issue and recommend treatment and work that you will develop your skills to build your self-confidence overall. There's loads of self-help things on social media, from experts in their field, remember. Have to be experts in their field. Don't listen to any tripe that you'll hear. Just make sure their credentials are actually correct before you actually go through simply listening to someone. So simply believing you can improve your mental health and well-being goes a long way throughout that. Somebody asked me, how can you actually be more socially confident? Well, if your confidence tends to lag in social situations, try to change your perspective. Instead of looking at a group interactions as a stressor, view them as an opportunity to work on building your self-confidence. Taking someone with you makes you feel confident also that you can give your self-belief needed to make you feel more comfortable around the groups of people you're actually speaking to. So have somebody coming along to actually see you. Creating a social event yourself may help as well because you know what to expect. You have some level of control. A lot of self-confidence comes back to control as well.
Yeah.
In social situations, to be honest, a lot of people don't realise that actually some social situations actually cause me a lot of anxiety. And some, if it does, then it sometimes comes along with reduced self-confidence. So talking to a mental health professional can actually help you out in that process. The other question that we've got as well in here, how can I be more confident in a relationship? Well, one way to develop self-confidence in a relationship is reorganize your worth, or recognize your worth, sorry. When you know the value that you bring to others, it helps you feel more confident in yourself. It can also help you to stay helpful, to stay in the present and not worry about the past or the future. We talked about this recently, Richard. But you were a bit like, well, I'm not feeling that. I'm not feeling it. And I went, what seems to be the issue? It's like, I just didn't feel I'm getting anywhere. And I'm like, holy shit, are you kidding me? Look at where we were 6 months ago or even a year ago. And then we tallied all that up and you went, wow, I never realised. It's like,
it shows how easy it is.
How far we've come.
Yeah, it just shows how easy it is to not maybe think it out clearly enough and put yourself down.
Yeah. Absolutely, that's what it is. The lack of confidence. If you're lacking confidence in relationships, is due to fear of being rejected. Remember that not everyone is compatible. Accept the fact that you all face rejection. I go back to the judgment fly thing again about when he says, when you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. And he goes, I just didn't think I could handle that type of rejection. And I distinctly remember all these things in my mind. And when he says that, I don't think I could handle that type of rejection. I thought, I'm kind of like that. Just learn to understand what rejection is. Rejection means it's just the fact that it's not right for them. See, when I went for The Apprentice, most people don't realize this. I went for The Apprentice and I got interviewed years ago. This was way before. This was to work with Alan Sugar, not actually have a business with him. This was actually to work with him as an employee. And so when I went for that interview, everybody was faffing about in that room, in the interview room, the green room. They were terrified, and they were concerned about the fact that, what if I don't get on? What if I don't do this? And they were like, the rejection, the fear of rejection was absolutely unbelievable. I had to literally sit everybody down in that room and say to them, look, it's not the rejection for you. It's not the fact that it's you. It's the fact that you're not right for the television program. That's all.
Yeah.
They're looking for people that are going to be, overwhelming. They're looking for people that are going to be blowing their own trumpet and being total idiots, making a fool of themselves.
For entertainment purposes, yeah.
I'm Stuart Baggs. It's like, it's like, I'm the best blind beer and I'm going to take this to the rocket and the moon. And it's like, I'm going to go to the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the cliches come out. It's like, it's nothing personal for that. You've absolutely said it right, Richard. It's not anything to do with that. And see, after I'd said that to everyone, it's not you, it's them. They said to themselves, I never realised that. I never thought about that in that way. It's like, and I actually thought it was, personal, but it's not. You're getting interviewed by TV people. You're not getting interviewed by, you're not getting interviewed for your qualities or your education or what you've achieved so far. You're only getting interviewed for the point is, will you make good television?
Yeah.
That's what that stage is. I was at. And once they understood that, everybody felt really more confident in themselves. The other question we got here, what does it say? How can you be more confident
at work?
So,
and that comes back to what we spoke about and what we kind of discussed the other week, about the performance at work. And if you lack confidence in the workplace, it's tied to your concerns with your performance, like obviously we had spoke about. So check in regularly with your superiors and see how you're doing, and cover like where you are in your performance. Ask for feedback about areas where you can improve, then work on them and feel more confident in your daily duties.
Be prepared for feedback. It's important. It's not a sign of reflection of you. It's a sign of reflection of what you're doing. It's the task. It's not the person. Disconnect them. It's not. People are not inherently bad. Good people do bad things.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most important point. So you understand, for people out there, you understand the relationship. Good people still do bad things, and bad people still do good things. But people at their core aren't inherently bad. They just do bad things. That's all. It doesn't make them bad. They can. I'm again another optimist. They can't change. It's like they can't change. Whereas other people go, leopard can't change their spots. They're done. That's they're written off for life. All right. And Jimmy, just leaving school at 16, goes, that's me done. I've not got any prospects because my mum and dad have written off. It's like I failed my exam, so I'm a loser for the rest of my life. No, you're not. It's just that no one understands. You've got all your whole life ahead of you. You'll end up possibly like me. I don't think if that's a good thing and a bad thing. Maybe that's not a good thing. It can also consider whether you excel at work and perform these activities as often as possible. That's a really good thing as well.
Yeah.
Do the things you do and you excel at work all the time because you'll really get rewarded for it, for that reason. But get other people to help you with the things that you're not very good at. So in order to support your cause. If you do make a mistake, admit it, learn from it, and move on. No one else is perfect. You shouldn't expect to be perfect yourself either.
Yeah.
Last one I think I got asked was, how can I be more confident about my body? This is a difficult one.
Body confidence is a big thing.
We live in a society where people have actually tried, and I'm going to be controversial here. This is how I see it now, where people have actually tried intently to actually change their body shape. And because they can't change their body shape and their struggle is too difficult, they've now got a group of people together to change the narrative for everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might be comfortable in your body shape and more power to you. That's all. But your body shape might end up leading you to cardiovascular problems, heart disease, heart attack, liver problems, stomach problems, digestion problems, mental health problems, all because of that. That's why you shouldn't kid yourself. for that thing. So if self-confidence is tied to your physical appearance, developing a more positive body image can help you instead of focusing on areas of your body that you actually dislike. I have people, there's people that's like absolutely gorgeous. And it's like, I didn't like my big toe.
I know.
What? They would kill to look like you.
Yeah.
And you're complaining about your big toe or your arch in your back. I don't like the arch in my back. Hello? I don't like my left boobs different to my right boob. Or... It's like, and I'm talking about man boobs, by the way. I don't like my boobs at sad. Just in case all the feminists were getting up there, but he's having a go at us. It's like, no, I'm talking about man boobs. So focus on the things that you actually like about your body and spend more time appreciating these areas that you feel good about rather than actually the wee bits that you dislike. That's how people get addicted to plastic surgery. I just didn't like that bit. I'll just
fixate on all the small things.
I'll just make that a wee bit smoother, a bit smoother. And it's like I'll change this and I'll change that. And then in 3 years' time, they look like bloody Herman Munster.
I know, you see the before and afters, and it's like, why?
And it's like, what happened there?
Yeah.
It's the Botox and the eyebrows and the extensions and the long lashes. And it's like, and that's just the men. And it's like, it tells me straight away there's something you're not comfortable about. There's something you dislike about yourself that you need to do that to feel confident. Often I'll see somebody out there, I'll talk about the ladies again. There's ladies out there that have absolutely no makeup on at all. And it's like, wow, they've got a real high self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they don't need all that. That is brilliant for me. And often I feel like walking over to somebody and actually congratulating them for no doing that. But I thought, better know just in case I offend them, because they might have something on. It's like the whole thing about when's your baby due? I'm not due a baby. It's like, shit. So, another tip on how to become more confident is not to compare your body to anyone else's. Remember, all these photographs that you see have been airbrushed.
Yeah.
Even if you see them in a video as well, some of these people have actually been manipulated in the video and they've actually put you from different angles. Look at Kim Kardashian. Like, she's got the back end like the back of a bus.
Yeah.
Right? And yet you don't see that in any of her videos at all, do you? That's all kept out and that's all edited perfectly so you don't see that. Because I don't think she even feels comfortable with that. And she has put photographs up with herself like that before. And she broke the internet. And it's like, I don't know. But I just think to myself, it's deliberately engineered so you don't see the things that they don't like about themselves. And
there's a lot of airbrushing and photo editing and filters and
That's what causes the problem in young girls' minds, all over, and young guys' minds as well. It's like, I have to be more effeminate and in touch with my feminine side. It's like, no. Can you just be you?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't.
Everybody's individual, and I think it's like you should stay that way.
That's why when they get together with somebody who actually is attracted to them like that, then all that crap comes off, and folk go, "Holy shit!" It's like, we often used to do that. I don't know. This is me just digressing. When we went to the Oasis discotheque, right? You were there and you were in total dark. And after a couple of drinks, obviously your vision impairs and you're like, oh, okay.
Beer goggles on.
Your beer goggles go on and all the rest of it. And everybody does that. But I tell you what, when you put the lights on at the end of the night and you go, oh my God. and most people will still see that today. It's like, when you get to the end of the night and the lights come on, it's like everybody looks like, oh my God, you've been like 3 sheets to the wind. But that's why you don't need to compare yourself to other people. So remember, there's room in this world for people of all shapes and sizes. We are all different. Embrace that quality within yourself. Have that and have that confidence to put yourself forward and say, yep, every day in every way, I am getting better and better. And that's us.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. A bit more elongated show today.
That was good fun. I think it's an important subject as well. So,
well, I thought I didn't want to cut it short because I felt that it was necessary to talk about these insecurities and how people feel about themselves, and actually rather than just say, "Oh, well, that's an hour," and that's us finished. I think it's important to relay that and have people have a better self-image about themselves, and hopefully everybody's got a really good out of that. So everybody's got something out of that, and we've done today. And that's why I felt that we needed to go a lot longer than we did to make sure everybody was self-confident about themselves. So if you did, give us a thumbs up and share it.
Big thanks to everybody that chipped
Tag
in.
people in as well.
I'm sure there'll be a lot watching the reruns. You could still comment.
There will be. Most people will listen to this and watch this later on when they have the time. And this is the reason why we did it a lot longer, because I personally think this is important to cover the subject, because your confidence level and leads to everything of your success and how you feel about yourselves and your relationships with other people as well, at your work, at your home, your mother and father, your children, or your friends, and
every aspect,
and even within yourself overall, how you feel about yourself is really important. The last thing you want to do is hide and actually live a life of desperation. So hopefully that's helped everybody throughout the show. And that's us, guys. We'll see you next week for 12:30. Thanks for coming on, Richard. And
thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye.